Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Cardboard boxes were stacked haphazardly against the walls, some still sealed with packing tape, while others gaped open, their contents spilling onto the carpeted floor. In the center of the chaos stood Wade, his lanky frame hunched over as he rifled through a particularly large box. His fingers trembled slightly as they brushed against silky fabrics and delicate lace. With a furtive glance towards the closed bedroom door, he withdrew a shimmering emerald dress from the depths of the box. The material cascaded like water through his hands, cool and smooth against his skin. Wade held the dress up to his body, studying his reflection in the full-length mirror propped against the far wall. His mousy brown hair fell in messy waves around a face that was all angles, high cheekbones, a sharp jawline, and a slightly too large nose. But as he smoothed the dress over his slim torso, a soft smile played at the corners of his mouth. For just a moment, he allowed himself to imagine, to see beyond the 5 o'clock shadow and broad shoulders, to picture a soft body where his own were so decidedly masculine. The sudden sound of a key turning in the front door lock shattered the illusion. Wade's eyes went wide with panic as he shoved the dress back into the box, movements frantic as he tried to seal it shut. "Wade, you home?" The voice drifted down the hallway, light and feminine. His cousin Elaine. Wade's heart hammered in his chest as he kicked the box towards the closet, praying she wouldn't notice anything amiss.
Yeah, I'm in here,"
he called back, wincing at the way his voice cracked. "Just unpacking some stuff." Footsteps approached, and Wade ran a hand through his hair in a futile attempt to look more put together. The bedroom door swung open to reveal Elaine, her curly red hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She took in the disaster zone that was his new bedroom with raised eyebrows. "Looks like you've got your work cut out for you," she remarked, leaning against the door frame. "Need a hand?" Wade shook his head, perhaps a bit too emphatically. "No, no thanks. I've got it under control." Elaine's gaze swept over the room once more, lingering for just a moment on the hastily closed closet door. If she noticed anything unusual, she didn't comment on it. Instead, she simply shrugged. "All right, suit yourself. I brought pizza if you get hungry later." With that, she retreated down the hallway. Wade let out a shaky breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. That had been close. Too close. He'd have to be more careful in the future. As the weeks passed, Wade settled into a routine in his new apartment. During the day, he went about his life as usual, working his IT job, grabbing beers with coworkers, playing video games. But at night, when the rest of the world slept, he indulged in his secret passion. He would carefully unpack his treasured collection, laying out silky blouses and flowing skirts across his bed. Shimmering eyeshadow palettes and tubes of lipstick were arranged on his dresser like priceless works of art. And then, with trembling hands and a racing heart, he would transform. Gone was Wade, with his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and ill-fitting jeans. In his place stood Joyce, elegant, graceful, and undeniably feminine. She experimented with different looks each night, from sophisticated businesswoman to flirty girl next door. As the weeks went by, her hand grew steadier with the eyeliner, her walk more natural in towering heels. But Joyce only existed within the confines of Wade's bedroom. The moment dawn broke, she would disappear, leaving only faint traces of perfume and smudged mascara in her wake. Wade told himself he was content with this arrangement, that stolen moments in the dark were enough to satisfy the longing that had haunted him for as long as he could remember. Until the night everything changed. It was a Friday, and Wade had begged off plans with coworkers, claiming a migraine. In reality, he'd been itching all day to try out the new red cocktail dress he'd ordered online. As soon as he got home, he showered and shaved, taking extra care to achieve silky smooth skin. He slipped into the dress. A long ash blonde wig completed the transformation. Joyce studied her reflection, a pleased smile playing at her crimson-painted lips. She looked good, really good. So caught up was she in admiring her appearance that she didn't hear the key turning in the lock, didn't register the sound of footsteps in the hallway. It wasn't until the bedroom door swung open that Joyce realized her fatal mistake. Elaine stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide with shock as she took in the scene before her. Joyce, no, Wade, felt the blood drain from his face. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Finally, Elaine cleared her throat. I brought over that book you wanted to borrow. I texted, but
I guess you didn't see it.
Wade's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. His mind raced, searching desperately for some explanation, some way to salvage this situation. But there was no denying the reality of what Elaine was seeing. To his surprise, it was Elaine who broke the tension. She stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind her. When she spoke again, her voice was gentle. Wade, is this something you've wanted to talk about? The question caught him off guard. He'd imagined this scenario 1,000 times, being discovered, ridiculed, shunned. But the compassion in Elaine's eyes was entirely unexpected. Slowly, hesitantly, he nodded. I don't know where to start, he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Elaine crossed the room, perching on the edge of the bed. She patted the spot next to her, inviting Wade to sit. How about we start with your name? When you're... like this, I mean. Wade blinked, caught off guard once again. Joyce? He said after a moment.
I call myself Joyce.
A small smile tugged at the corners of Elaine's mouth. Joyce, she repeated. It suits you. And just like that, the floodgates opened. Wade, Joyce, found herself pouring out years of pent-up emotions, the shame, the fear, the overwhelming desire to be true to herself. Elaine listened without judgment, offering reassuring nods and gentle squeezes of Joyce's hand. As the night wore on, Joyce felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she didn't have to hide, didn't have to pretend. And with Elaine's unwavering support, she began to imagine a future where Joyce could exist beyond the confines of a locked bedroom. Over the next few months, Elaine became Joyce's confidant and guide in all things feminine. They spent countless hours poring over fashion magazines, debating the merits of different makeup techniques, and binge-watching makeup tutorials on YouTube. Elaine accompanied Joyce on her first nervous forays into women's clothing stores, offering encouragement and honest feedback. That color washes you out, she'd say, or those jeans make your legs look miles long. With each passing day, Joyce's confidence grew. She learned to embrace her height, using it to her advantage with flowing maxi dresses and wide-legged trousers. Elaine taught her how to accentuate her best features: high cheekbones, full lips, and long, elegant fingers. One lazy Sunday afternoon found the pair sprawled across Joyce's bed, surrounded by a chaos of clothing and accessories. Elaine held up two nearly identical black pumps, a look of intense concentration on her face. Okay, pop quiz time. What's the difference between these shoes? Joyce studied them carefully before answering. The one on the left has a slightly higher heel, maybe half an inch, and the toe is more pointed. Elaine beamed. Look at you, future fashionista. You're absolutely right. She tossed both shoes aside, reaching for a makeup palette instead. Now, let's work on your contouring technique. You've got great bone structure. We just need to learn how to emphasize it. As Elaine demonstrated different brushstrokes on her own face, Joyce found herself marveling at how much her life had changed in such a short time. Gone were the days of furtive online purchases and hidden boxes. Now her closet was filled with carefully curated outfits, each one an expression of her true self. But for all the progress she'd made, Joyce still hesitated to venture outside as her authentic self. The thought of facing the world, of potentially being recognized or ridiculed, filled her with paralyzing fear. Elaine, ever perceptive, picked up on Joyce's internal struggle, As she blended eyeshadow across Joyce's lids, she broached the subject gently. You know, there's a great little cafe a few blocks from here. Very trans-friendly. Maybe we could grab coffee there sometime? Baby steps, you know? Joyce's eyes flew open, smudging the carefully applied eyeshadow. I don't know, Elaine. What if someone sees me? What if— Hey! Elaine interrupted, squeezing Joyce's hand reassuringly. It's just a suggestion. We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with.
But Joyce, you're beautiful. You deserve to be seen, to be appreciated. Whenever you're ready, I'll be right there with you.
Joyce felt tears pricking at the corners of her eyes, threatening to ruin her mascara. She blinked them back, offering Elaine a watery smile. What did I do to deserve a friend like you? Elaine grinned, reaching for a tissue to dab at Joyce's eyes. You're stuck with me, honey. Now hold still. I need to fix this eyeshadow. As the weeks passed, Joyce found herself thinking more and more about Elaine's suggestion. The idea of being out in public as her true self was both thrilling and terrifying. She imagined sipping lattes at a sunlit cafe table, browsing bookstore shelves, window shopping along bustling streets. Simple, everyday activities that had always been denied to Joyce. Finally, on a crisp autumn morning, Joyce made her decision. She sent Elaine a text, fingers trembling slightly as she typed, I think I'm ready for that coffee date. Elaine's response was immediate and enthusiastic. They made plans to meet at Joyce's apartment the following Saturday. Joyce spent the intervening days agonizing over every detail of her outfit, changing her mind a dozen times before finally settling on a soft emerald green sweater dress paired with black leggings and ankle boots. When Saturday arrived, Joyce was a bundle of nerves. She paced her apartment, alternating between checking her makeup for the 100th time and peering anxiously out the window. When Elaine finally arrived, Joyce nearly tackled her in a fierce hug. I don't know if I can do this, she confessed, voice muffled against Elaine's shoulder. Elaine pulled back, holding Joyce at arm's length. Her eyes swept over Joyce's outfit approvingly. You look amazing, she said firmly. And you absolutely can do this. But if at any point you want to turn back, just say the word, okay? Joyce nodded, taking a deep breath to steady herself. With one last glance in the mirror, she grabbed her purse and followed Elaine out the door. The walk to the cafe was only a few blocks, but to Joyce, it felt like miles. Every passing car, every stranger on the sidewalk sent her heart racing. She clung to Elaine's arm like a lifeline, barely registering the reassuring words her friend murmured. But as they walked, something strange began to happen. The sky didn't fall. People didn't point and stare. In fact, most passers-by barely gave them a second glance. Joyce felt herself begin to relax, her death grip on Elaine's arm loosening slightly. By the time they reached the cafe, Joyce's nerves had settled into a manageable flutter. The interior was cozy and inviting, with mismatched furniture and local artwork adorning the walls. A rainbow flag hung proudly in the window, and Joyce felt a surge of gratitude for Elaine's thoughtfulness in choosing this particular spot. They placed their orders, a vanilla latte for Joyce, an iced Americano for Elaine, and settled into a secluded corner table. As they sipped their drinks and chatted, Joyce found herself relaxing further. She even managed to laugh at Elaine's terrible puns, the sound bright and genuine. It wasn't until they were preparing to leave that Joyce realized something profound. For the past hour, she hadn't once thought about passing or being discovered. She'd simply been herself, Joyce, enjoying coffee with a dear friend. As they stepped back out onto the sidewalk, Joyce impulsively threw her arms around Elaine. "Thank you," she whispered fiercely. "For everything." Elaine returned the hug just as tightly. "Anytime, girl. I'm so proud of you." That afternoon marked a turning point for Joyce. Having conquered her fear of being seen in public, she found herself eager to experience more of life as her authentic self. With Elaine by her side, she began to venture out more frequently. They started small, quick trips to the corner store, walks in the park on quiet weekday mornings, But as Joyce's confidence grew, so did her ambitions. Soon they were tackling crowded shopping malls and busy restaurants. Each outing brought new challenges and triumphs. Joyce learned to navigate public restrooms with minimal anxiety, mastered the art of gracefully declining advances from well-meaning men, and slowly but surely built up a wardrobe suitable for any occasion. There were still moments of fear and self-doubt, of course. The first time a child loudly asked their mother why that man is wearing a dress, Joyce wanted nothing more than to melt into the floor. But Elaine was always there with a reassuring squeeze of the hand or a well-timed joke to diffuse the tension. As months passed, Joyce found herself living more and more of her life as her true self. She began working from home more frequently, allowing her to present as female without fear of workplace discrimination. Her apartment underwent a gradual transformation, Joyce's feminine touches replacing the sparse utilitarian decor of Wade's bachelor pad. But despite all the progress she'd made, there was still one hurdle Joyce hadn't quite managed to overcome: dating. The thought of putting herself out there, of being vulnerable, not just as a woman, but as a potential romantic partner, filled her with paralyzing fear. Elaine, ever the supportive friend, tried to gently nudge Joyce in that direction. "You know, there's this great trans-friendly speed dating event next month," she mentioned casually one day as they were out shopping. "Maybe we could check it out. No pressure, just to see what it's like." Joyce nearly dropped the blouse she'd been examining. "Speed dating? Elaine, I can barely handle making small talk with the barista. How am I supposed to charm a dozen strangers in one night?" Elaine plucked the blouse from Joyce's hands, holding it up appraisingly. "First of all, this color is all wrong for you. And second, who said anything about charming? It's just practice, Joyce. A chance to talk to people in a low-pressure environment." Joyce chewed her lower lip, considering. The thought of putting herself out there was terrifying, but she had to admit there was a part of her that longed for companionship. To be seen and appreciated not just as a woman, but as a potential partner. "I'll think about it," she finally conceded, earning a triumphant grin from Elaine. In the weeks leading up to the speed dating event, Joyce's anxiety reached new heights. She obsessed over every detail of her appearance, cycled through a dozen potential outfits, and grilled Elaine mercilessly on proper dating etiquette. The night of the event arrived all too quickly. Joyce stood before her mirror, hardly recognizing the woman who stared back at her. She'd opted for a deep purple wrap dress that accentuated her curves, paired with strappy silver heels. Her makeup was flawless, and her chestnut brown wig was styled in loose waves. Elaine whistled appreciatively as she entered the bedroom. "Damn, girl, you're going to break some hearts tonight." Joyce managed a weak smile, fumbling with her clutch. "I think I'm going to be sick." Elaine crossed the room, placing her hands on Joyce's shoulders and meeting her gaze in the mirror. "You've got this," she said firmly. "You're smart, funny, and drop-dead gorgeous. Just be yourself and the rest will fall into place." The venue was a trendy bar in the heart of the city's gay district. Rainbow flags and twinkling fairy lights adorned the walls, and the air thrummed with nervous energy. Joyce clung to Elaine's arm as they made their way inside, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The event organizer, a bubbly woman with a shock of pink hair, greeted them warmly. She explained the rules: 5 minutes with each partner, then rotate to the next table at the sound of the bell. Simple enough in theory, but Joyce felt her palms grow clammy at the thought. As Elaine gave her one last encouraging squeeze before heading to her own table, Joyce took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. She could do this. She'd faced far greater challenges in her journey to become her authentic self. What was a little speed dating compared to that? The first few rounds were admittedly awkward. Joyce stumbled over her words, laughed too loudly at jokes that weren't funny, and nearly knocked over her water glass in a fit of nervous energy. But as the night wore on, she found herself relaxing. The people she met were kind and understanding, each with their own stories of self-discovery and acceptance. There was Mara, a vivacious trans woman who had Joyce in stitches with tales of her misadventures in online dating. Then came Devon, a soft-spoken, non-binary person who shared Joyce's passion for classic literature. Each interaction, however brief, left Joyce feeling more at ease in her own skin. But it was her final speed date of the night that truly took her breath away. As Joyce settled into her seat, she found herself face to face with quite possibly the most beautiful woman she'd ever seen. Warm brown eyes, a dazzling smile, and an aura of quiet confidence that immediately set Joyce at ease. "Hi there," the woman said, her voice low and melodious. "I'm Zoe." "Joyce," she managed to reply, proud that her voice didn't crack. "It's nice to meet you." As they began to talk, Joyce was surprised to find the conversation flowing easily. Zoe was witty and charming, with a dry sense of humor that perfectly complemented Joyce's own. They discovered a shared love of indie films and hole-in-the-wall bookstores, swapping recommendations and debating the merits of various directors. When the final bell rang, signaling the end of their time together, Joyce felt a pang of disappointment. 5 minutes had never passed so quickly. As they rose from the table, Zoe hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Listen, I know this is probably against the rules, but would you maybe want to grab a coffee sometime? Outside of all this?" She gestured vaguely at the speed dating setup. Joyce felt a flutter of nervous excitement in her stomach. "I'd love that," she said, surprising herself with her own boldness. They exchanged numbers, and as Zoe walked away with a final dazzling smile, Joyce felt as though she were floating. She scanned the room for Elaine, eager to share her triumph. She found her friend chatting animatedly with a tall, statuesque woman near the bar. As Joyce approached, Elaine's face lit up. "There you are! How'd it go?" Joyce couldn't contain her grin. "It was actually kind of amazing. I think I have a date." Elaine let out a delighted squeal, pulling Joyce into a tight hug. "I knew it!" "I'm so proud of you, babe." As they made their way home that night, Joyce's mind was whirling with possibilities. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she could be truly, completely herself, where she could love and be loved as Joyce, without fear or shame. There would be challenges ahead, of course. The world wasn't always kind to those who dared to be different. But as Joyce looked at Elaine, her steadfast friend and champion, she knew she wouldn't have to face those challenges alone. The journey to self-acceptance was far from over, but Joyce finally felt as though she were on the right path. With each step, each new experience, she was becoming more fully herself. And really, what more could anyone ask for? As they reached Joyce's apartment building, Elaine gave her friend's hand a final squeeze. "You know, I have a good feeling about this, Zoe. I think she could be really good for you." Joyce smiled, a mix of excitement and nerves fluttering in her stomach. "I hope so. I guess we'll see where it goes." Elaine nodded, then fixed Joyce with a stern look. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "I get to help you pick out your outfit for the first date." Joyce laughed, the sound light and carefree. "Deal. I wouldn't have it any other way." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.